Well, Sheep perhaps doesn't understand code. The logs have become quite personal to the people on the project now, so I'd advise Sheep to trust them, at least a little bit. Aha! Some people have given away this one already. Not the solution, just the fact of its existence. I wouldn't say I found it hard. I did some experimentation and worked it out. I'll elucidate on that in a bit. For now, there was one log file we didn't get to read last time. It's regarding Philip K. Dick's essay, How to Build a Universe That Doesn't Fall Apart 2 Days Later. The essay is really good. I'd suggest reading it if you feel like it. It starts off with him discussing Disneyland for the first couple paragraphs, and then it starts talking about a story he wrote a couple of decades before about a dog who sees his owners put perfectly good food inside big metal cans for safekeeping, and then men come periodically and take it all away, and the dog extrapolates, logically, maybe one day the men will come in and eat the owners too. And so you end up with, if this dog is seeing the world differently to all of us, are we seeing the world differently to each other? Does reality have a constant value? Well, maybe parts of it are constant and other parts are unique to the individual. And this thought process culminates when Dick recounts a question he got from a college student asking for him to define reality for her, for a paper she was writing for philosophy class. And Dick answered, "Reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away." He goes on to talk about how this isn't just a theoretical issue. Governments create realities. Reality can be manipulated by the information that you're given, the amount that is emitted. At any rate, he goes on to talk about an event that led to him having a loss of forgetfulness, whereby he remembered that Jesus had gone but would be back soon, and the Romans had no idea, and maybe time is circular, and certain things always stay the same. History repeats itself, and lives go all round and round. Yeah, that's Philip K. Dick for you. I do find it's helpful, especially studying software engineering, to have abstractions. If reality seems inconsistent, just break it down. One part can be the constant foundation. We can plug in different modules as we need, depending on the person. So the log doesn't really raise a point. It doesn't go any further than that. It's just drawing your attention to it, really. It does finish off by saying, materialist philosophers have expressed similar ideas before, e.g. Stratton of Stegera's Talos principle. Now I was waiting for him to come up again. I didn't think he ever would. The first reference was in A3, the clock room, and he's barely been mentioned since. Hang on a second, getting to the end of these 7 doors. So see here, I've got a connector on one switch, opening one barrier, and there are 2 further barriers beyond that. If I'd used the jammer on the switch and jammed the second to last barrier, I could have used the connector to open the final barrier, and I'd have had this solved by now. All I can say is I was distracted by this receiver. So I had to jump ahead to me solving this, well, the solution I actually ended up with. So this is the first time in the history of this Let's Play that you'll see 2 equally legitimate solutions that don't involve running around the walls to one puzzle. My thoughts were to get as far as I could without activating the recorder, and then pretty much wing it from there. Perhaps not the most overall efficient use, but certainly the one easiest to wrap your head around. My recordings job is literally just to reposition the jammer so that I can move mine to the other side. And so now I can turn my recording off, and I've got 4 doors open, and I can take all the time I need to do the rest. So back to Stratton. I felt kind of rude about this, because my YouTube messages says it was 4 months ago that Innovacious sent me a link. Apparently one of the Steam emoticons for the game is a QR code, and that links to a blog that was running for a few years about Stratton of Stagira. The URL is in the description. It's Stratton of Stagira, or one word, .wordpress.com. When I first read the log file about him, I just passed it off as another philosopher. It was only a little bit into the Let's Play that I started really looking up in detail all the varied sources. So Stratton, I'm not going to say he didn't exist, absolutely, but no reference can be found to him except in this game. The blog's first post is titled Hello World, and includes a cover for a Penguin classic titled The Talos Principle, that certainly doesn't exist. So in the end my solution was somewhat overkill, but there's still more to be done. The blog is really fun though. It's got some deconstructions of actual philosophers, some quotes from Wikipedia that are probably real actually, they may as well be, some fragments from Stratton himself, and then of course it veers off into, ooh, all of this Talos Principle stuff has come about. What's all this then? Perhaps I'll have a go. The review of it only appeared on the 5th of April of this year, and it's all, oh, I'm not very good at games. It's been a while, but this game's pretty fun. Not as educational as expected, but some refreshing views on the human species. Okay, hopefully a few of you paused the video then and tried to decode that based on what you could see. That's what I did. It wouldn't accept my answer. And then I looked it up and I realised that, yeah, it's an Easter egg. You can get rid of that ivy at some point.
This is all ego, isn't it? Recording these random thoughts, these letters to the future. Just a desperate grab for immortality. But you should know, yes, this was my idea, my project. But so many people helped. People I don't even know. People I haven't even met who can do things I don't even begin to understand. That if we succeeded, if someone's listening to this, I really can't take credit for it. What we achieved together. And if we failed, well, it doesn't matter.
Okay, a healthy outlook. Some more text logs will explain maybe how Alex has arrived at this opinion. I shouldn't keep the suspense though. The QR code reads Viniste of de Stranak. Sorry. It's in Croatian, and it means you are not here, which is a reference to Antichamber, an excellent game that I would potentially record myself having a go at if I hadn't completed it already. But if you thought this game was making my puzzle skills look bad, phew. This is a bit hairy, but I'm so conditioned to it by now. So Alex, yeah, acknowledges that it's a team effort. That's been why I've been making sure to acknowledge the role of everyone we see who's referenced. And just to round out what I was saying about the blog, the latest post is, well, some people have been saying that this is a marketing exercise, or trolling. But come on, it's just a game. I've got no secrets to share, no hidden levels to tell you about. I can't even give you a hint about the upcoming DLC, because I hadn't even heard about it until 5 minutes ago when I did a Google search. The story seems interesting though. So yeah, DLC. I actually heard about it on Tom's blog. It's apparently got about the same amount of words as this full game. So I'm afraid I'll probably have to spare you all that, and experience it on my own time. Right, where are we with this puzzle? The exit's just beyond that window. Right, onto this hub's logs. The first one is Faith. An email from Neil Macomber, who I don't think we've been introduced to so far. He's not in any of the other files. The subject line is Stray Thoughts at Midnight, so I don't know where the Faith title came from. And in it, Neil says, Dearest brother, why does bad things happen to good people? Why has God sent this virus, basically? Just cutting out some backtracking. I'd argue there's very little backtracking in this game. More just wandering around the same areas relentlessly. Still don't know how to interpret that, or to use it, or to comfort version 0. Giving me the creeps. Stop it. I am me, and I remember everything. That's a really nice pond. So, something that Neil does say in his email is, how can he be the same God who will subject those children to such unbearable pain? So if he is referring to the virus, apparently it's not an easy way to go. I'm just going to file that information away for now. Just exploring for now. So it does seem that Neil is a preacher, pastor, vicar, something along those lines. He stands in front of people and preaches something that he no longer feels in his heart, and then is questioning for the truth. He does say that he moves in mysterious ways as an excuse, rather than as the terrifying acknowledgement it truly is. Perhaps I made God too human. Which is something I've never seen expressed before. I'll have to remember that. Next time someone says that line to me, he moves in mysterious ways, I'll just say, and isn't that terrifying? See how that goes. So I've now reached that point in the puzzle where I'm going to have to do a lot of things wrong in order to do it correctly in the end. All these windows I currently see no reason to use, but will. And this hub seems to have a theme of everybody throwing their religious beliefs into the pot. Sun Wei Yang, the project lead for the Talos unit, is thanking Alexandra for the chance to finish his work on Soma/Talos, and he throws in this odd line: "My faith makes death a far less frightening prospect than it is for others. I know we have all died many times before, but the thought of leaving the work unfinished did weigh on me." My issue with the puzzle is I need to move the jammer over to the other side of the barrier that it's pointing at, which means I need to untangle all of these connectors and undo all of this hard work. I know the point of Wei Yang's email is to talk about Buddhism, in particular samsara, the endless cycle of dying and rebirth. I don't know the guy, and I know that everyone's doomed anyway, so maybe people are more open about this sort of thing. It just seems a bit odd to say, "Hey, are you worried about this? My religion means I'm not worried about this, but you probably are. Anyway, thanks for sticking with it and stuff." So here the rest of the puzzle starts coming together. There are all these angles from which you can open all sorts of doors. I'm jumping ahead a bit. I reshuffled all the components so that I could open the door in front of me, and here I am. We're given a third connector, which I imagine we'll be using right at the start of this puzzle. I just cut out my backtracking to the start so I could untangle everything. So I need to make use of connectors on either side of these windows. My problem for now is I can't use one connector to open both of these barriers at once. I'll have to decide what opens what from where. I can now quite easily move the jammer to the other side, though. The hidden text in Wei Yang's email is more Blake, time is the mercy of eternity. The rest of the quote is, without time's swiftness, which is the swiftest of all things, all were eternal torment. It's also a very interesting poem by Kenneth Rexroth, and the name of a play that debuted in 2008 and was received mixedly. How many times has this happened now? Glorious, every time. Jumping ahead to the slightest of shuffling of placement. A glimpse after running through this area about a dozen times. Jeez, poor Sam. How do you feel about that? The very first programs were endless gibberish or non-stop screaming. Though they did make it all the way to C-6, somehow. Maybe the rooms are in a different order to how they used to be. Still not good enough. I had to rethink this entire puzzle. Here we go then, from the top. You see that window to the right? I haven't used it up until now, but I should have been. I haven't quite put it to good use yet. Early days and all that. Okay, so my new thought isn't quite in place yet. Let's look at the last log while I turn grey. It's some more Samuel Butler. What he's saying is, if all the machines were to be annihilated at one moment, and that's including knife, levers, rags of clothing, and all knowledge about those machines, then including all machine-made food destroyed, which is starting to sound petty, so that the race of men were left, as it were, naked upon a desert island, we should become extinct in 6 weeks. Samuel would scoff at your attempts to explain how you would survive a zombie apocalypse. For man's very soul is machine-made. All he thinks and feels is through the work that machines have wrought upon him. And here I'm just making absolutely sure that I can see through the gap between all these walls with this one connector. And the overall solution, of course, is to close the barrier behind you. Once more. Same problem, different context. I'm slightly disappointed in myself. Oops, forgot to move the jammer first. So I agree with Butler. Once more, I think it's very similar to a previous log we heard about religion, how we assigned deities to countries, and then began treating the countries according to the deities. We made all these tools to make it easier to perform certain tasks, and now those tasks are synonymous with the tools used to perform them. Like these people who literally live in a forest and hunter-gather, and had forgotten how to make fire because they've got lighters and such, until Bear Grylls or whoever comes on and reminds them how to do it. In which case, yeah, obviously, you take all that away, we're absolutely doomed as a species. More and more so as time goes on, and that's not a bad thing. Since I left the 7 doors of recording in the state I did, the route to the star is completely clear. Even if I hadn't left it in its state, there's now a path right down the side, so I can just walk along, hold down some switches. That does mean that the rest of this runtime will be spent talking to Milton. All I'll say at this point is, this is where things really start to diverge. I don't really have the option to outright argue back, and sure, even if the holes are only there because I haven't been given anything to patch them with. Oh goody, I get to recant all the things I've supposedly said. I don't really want to do this, I'll just go for the most general one. Although bringing up the person's one again might have brought us back full circle. Aha, I only have to concede one, and then I've got the options to do more, but come on. I am unique. Now, let's ask questions. Well, sure, it can be construed as mechanical, but if not me, then who? I thought about this a while. It feels like a trick question, and this is more of my gut reaction, because I kind of like the idea of the multiple worlds theory. The calculator can't even have that discussion, and I've determined that that's enough, you spoil sport. Still, everything has pointed to there being something out there. I truly want to know. What's Milton's honest second opinion? Some things happened. Let's try and get to the bottom of it. That's a pretty good point. Me, continuing when there's no more purpose, sounds not very mechanical. Well, I got my achievement for asking all my questions. maybe it's time to back off a little bit. Come on, Milton. Leave the jargon to the newbies. You've had enough time to get over all this. Oh no, time for some home truths. My avatar seems to have sprung a life of its own. Well, what makes you think I would stick around and listen? Fine. If I need a dose of self-doubt, I'll know where to find you. What makes you think I would stick around to listen? I said, what makes you think I would stick around to listen? This is very childish, you know? This is very childish. Well, I sure showed him. So that was a fascinating look into Milton's psyche. A bit of talk back and he starts leaning on the caps lock key. I'm surprised Elohim doesn't have any words to weigh in with here. Next time, the final hub. Aside from the messenger room and the star room. Will Milton come crawling back? Will we get a chance to do likewise? Or have we burnt that bridge for good?